you spy on your friends, they may not like it. That's the message from Brazil to America after the Brazilian president today called off a state visit to Washington amid revelations that the US spied on her personal communications. Dilma Rousseff was due to visit next month with all the pomp and circumstance of a White House state dinner. Relations between the two countries deteriorated sharply after the details of a US surveillance program were leaked by NSA contractor Edward Snowden. Well, joining me now to discuss the relationship and the impact this could all have is Farnsworth from the Council of the Americas. Eric, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
What is it that Dilma Rousseff is so unhappy about?
Well, she doesn't like the fact that the United States is spying on Brazil, but I think what really stuck in her craw was that the United States seems to be spying on her personally. You know, her own background is such as she was a revolutionary fighter against the dictatorship.
Imprisoned?
Absolutely, imprisoned, tortured by the Brazilian dictatorship back in the 60s and 70s. So these issues are visceral to her, and the idea that a foreign power may be spying or doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, particularly a power that claims to be your friend, I think is something that really has caught the Brazilians in a way that they just would prefer they not have that type of relationship with the United States.
What were the Americans looking for, do you think?
Well, it's unclear. Certainly I don't have access to that intelligence, but it's pretty routine, to be honest, that the United States would be looking at communications among senior leaders from most countries. Brazil's no exception. Certainly the United States has similar operations with virtually everybody around the world.
Okay, I tried to look around to see how many other leaders have called off a state visit of this nature, and I actually just couldn't find anyone in history that had said, okay, I have this dinner laid on, all the pomp and circumstance and ceremony of what happens during these visits, and I'm not going to go. She seems to be the first.
It appears to be unprecedented. I think it's a huge statement. And, you know, if you look at the last time Brazil had a state visit, it was 1995. It was Fernando Henrique Cardoso with Bill Clinton. They had both of their first ladies with them. They really had a very strong relationship. They went to Camp David. Now you fast forward almost 20 years to the next state visit, a state visit, by the way, that the Brazilians had been actively pursuing. And not only is it not the same type of warm personal meeting that the previous one was, it's not going to be a meeting at all, at least until the indefinite future.
Okay, is it a real blow to American-Brazilian relationships, or is this really about Rousseff's own politics because she faces re-election next year and this is something that's popular with her people?
Well, I think it's both. It clearly is something that is playing well with her base, which is to the left side of the political spectrum. The business community in Brazil doesn't care for it that much, but that's not really her constituency. There is some political element there. Her poll ratings have been down. The economy is soft, so she does need something to build up her political standing. But it does also hurt the bilateral relationship because when presidents get together, particularly for state visit, it drives the agenda. It drives the bureaucracies to move forward to produce all the things they've been working on for the last years and frankly to come up with new things, new ways to show cooperation, new initiatives, et cetera, et cetera. So if you take off that meeting, you really undercut some of the other things that the bureaucracies have been looking to do. It's going to have broad implications.
And implications in the short term for the White House, which now has to scramble, of course.
No question about it.
Farnsworth, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.